Hello and welcome to Google Developers Live. This is Google Apps Unscripted, and my name is Arun Nagarajan.
And I'm Eric Kalita.
Great. This is we're live from New York, and it's actually one of the earliest we've had our Google Developers Live episode. It feels pretty early here still. Hopefully the folks in Europe and Asia, this is, you can finally watch it without having to wake up in the middle of the night.
Yeah, we're trying to accommodate all people from all parts and all time zones.
Excellent. And so the folks that are not familiar with this series, this is our monthly series that we run where we walk through our most recent launches, talk about some of the recent news in the AppScript world, and most importantly, take your questions. So we have a Google moderator page where you can post your questions and vote up on other questions that people have already asked. And we highly encourage you to engage with us in that mechanism. Great way for you to ask us questions, put us on the spot, and try to get the answers that you want. But it's also really important that if there's already a question that's there, please do vote up on those.
Yeah. And you can join live too. Let's not forget.
That's right.
The live part of Google's Developer Live is there. You can join if you go to the events page that hosts this on developers.google.com/live. Find this event. You can click to join a live hangout where later on in the episode you can ask us questions just like you would on the moderator, but with a bit more back and forth.
Yes. Precisely, exactly. So we have a few interesting launches that we want to talk about first, and then we'll go into the hangout and answer your questions as well. So the very first one is something that I'm pretty excited about. I've been working on this for a few weeks now. This is the Google plugin for Eclipse support for AppScript. So the ability to bring in your AppScript code into the Google plugin that for Eclipse that we've had out for a while. The version of the plugin, I believe, is 3.4. If I remember exactly right, and you'll be able to add in an AppScript project and have multiple projects in a workspace. So if you can go to the computer and take a look at the blog post we talked about there, we show you free screenshots of what this may look like. And the whole idea is that you're able to bring your AppScript projects down into your local file system and edit it locally. If you're someone that's taking a train to work every day and you want to get that extra 30 minutes of work done on AppScript, you can do that now. We have autocomplete built in. I know, Eric, that's you.
That's me.
And in fact, we were speaking with a few folks that really enjoyed doing that. And during the testing process, we actually made some fixes to improve the performance in offline scenarios in the disconnected state. So that's why I bring that up explicitly. But the process is actually really straightforward. So if you already have an Eclipse installation, we recommend that you have the JavaScript development tools. But from there on, it's a really straightforward process to just go to the install new software and be able to pull down the plugin, the new version of that. Did I get the right version?
Doesn't list the version.
It doesn't list the version, so maybe in the documentation page you'll see it. But it's really straightforward. The great thing about this is that it's built on the same API that we released, I think, a couple of months ago, the import-export API. Mm-hmm. So this is the API that allows you to get at the source code of your AppScript projects through the Drive API. So it's a great way for us to give you tools using the API that we already opened up.
That's really great. I mean, the thing is that the import-export, this is kind of like one implementation on top of that API.
That's right.
Now, that doesn't stop if someone else wants to build their own Eclipse integration or an integration with a different text editor of some kind or IDE. You can use the same functionality that we have. There's no magic in what we've built. And you can go build your own.
That's right. And in fact, a couple of ISVs have. One of them is called Edity. That's by a company named Florisoft, I believe. And they've done a really good job. So if you can take a look at the computer here, they've done a really good job of building a tool. And there's the plus post where they talk about this launch, where the AppScript code comes into another browser-based editor. And if there are things about that editor that you like, maybe it integrates with your other web projects, maybe it's something that you prefer the color schemes of, you can go ahead and build your AppScript apps through this new editor. Edity, I believe it's pronounced. Mm-hmm. And there it is on the screen. And there's yet another one called Neutron Drive, and they've also added in AppScript support, and this is based on the Drive API that I mentioned as well. And again, really straightforward to bring in your AppScript projects from your Drive into other editors, Eclipse, plus these two others that we mentioned. And we encourage you to go off and try these out, but also if there are specific capabilities that are not met by these tools, all the documentation's there, so you should be able to feel free to build your own.
Yeah, that's a good point. So definitely something else we're looking for feedback specifically around Eclipse as well as import-export is, is there more you need? So there's some known limitations about the Eclipse integration today. You can edit code, that means like download, make modifications, and save it back to the web. But today it's limited where you can't actually do a run through Eclipse or look at the logs or do debugging. So we know there's some important functionality that's still missing. So start using these different types of integrations and see, does it meet your needs how they are? Is there more that you need to do? And is there actually more value in having these kind of other editors built into our system?
That's right. And one of the things that I know I miss a lot is the ability to not get at your container-bound scripts. So today the Drive API only exposes the scripts at the top level, so the ones that you author from script.google.com. I know I personally would like to see that fixed, so we're always pushing for those improvements.
Yeah.
But yeah, so certainly take a look at these. I think it's a great way to do things like source control integration. So if nothing else, the Eclipse integration allows you to replicate the scripts locally. And you can tie it into Git or other version control systems that you may have in order to work with the back-end integrations that you may already have for builds and all the things that you do.
Yeah, very cool.
So Eric, there's another big launch that we had recently.
Yeah, another one of our launches was around Form App, which is our service within AppScript that allows you to retrieve and modify your Google Forms. Now this is tying into the form editing process, not the form filling out process. And what we did is there's a couple features that launched in the actual Google Forms product that didn't quite make it into our service on day one. And so now we have those available to you. And so you can see here what they are. One of them is the ability to embed a YouTube video within a form. A lot of people want to have instructions or other sorts of content within their form. Now you can programmatically add YouTube videos to your forms. Likewise, there's a progress bar. This is a nice one, especially I know when I'm about to fill out like a survey or a feedback form, if I get a sense that this is going to be like a 2-hour process, I might bail out. But if I can tell that it's only going to take me a couple more clicks, I may continue on with the process. So I think that can be an extra little incentive to have people, as they go, get a feeling for how much they've completed the form. And then I think the last one is setting a custom closed form message. So you may want to have a form open for a certain amount of time to get feedback, but then when a certain amount of time has passed, a day, a week, whatever it is, you want to close that form down for new responses, and by default it would just say, this form is closed, or some sort of standard Google language. Now, however, you can set your own custom form closed message, something like, please call us, or wait until next month when we'll open up again, something like that. And so you can now do that, once again, programmatically via the Form app.
Yeah, and the example in the blog post, I think, is a really simple one to get started with. I think you can literally copy and paste it, and it'll build you a form and highlight all the new APIs that we added. So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
This is the full code.
Yeah.
There's not just a small snippet.
I think I was doing a demo recently where I was able to just copy and paste it, and it was a great way to demonstrate what Form app is all about, along with the new capabilities that we added. My particular favorite is the custom form closed message. I think that really does give a bit more polish to your form.
Yeah.
If you're a t-shirt ordering process, you can say all mediums are taken, or have something, or this process is now closed. Email us directly for additional details, something like that. So it's much more user friendly rather than putting a generic message out. Yeah,
definitely. And more important, maybe next actions, like actions that you could follow up on, rather than just say, "Hey, we're sorry, close our business."
Yeah, and I know the teacher and the education community are really excited about the video capabilities. So if you have like a Khan Academy video followed by a couple of quiz questions, something like that would be really cool.
That's really nice.
Yeah, so you can build some interesting scripts around that to automate that script building flow, and we're looking forward to seeing what you can build with that.
Cool.
Speaking of demos, one of the things that I recently was involved with was a hangout on air with the Google Enterprise team. So AppScript, as you know, works on any account, any Google account, but if you're running within an enterprise, there's some additional nice things about it where you can have your script run within just the organization. You can restrict access to who gets the web app URL. You can also, as an admin, do interesting things around user manager and domain tools, domain APIs that we have. So there's always been a really nice fit in the enterprise space with AppScript. And recently I did a Hangout on Air, which is sort of their equivalent of Google Developers Live, mostly meant for end users to come and learn about something new in the Google Apps and API space. and it was fun. It was about 30 minutes, and it was more introductory than maybe some of you guys are already used to, but definitely check it out. It's a quick 20-30 minute video, and if you're ever looking for something to get started with AppScript or talk about use cases, what are some of the enterprise ideas that we would like to see implemented and we're seeing around the world, partners and customers already do, this Hangout on Air talks about that.
Yeah. I think AppScript is a great general purpose tool, but there are a lot of specific segments.
That's
you mentioned
right.
Education and enterprise, where we have either certain technologies, certain capabilities, or just certain kind of techniques and applications.
That's right.
That we'd love to discuss if you guys are interested.
Definitely. And I think the ideas are really where I think a lot of cool things come from. And we often see a script, maybe it's 100 lines of code, but the way it solves a particular problem is really where the value of AppScript comes in, rather than the complexity or the coolness of the code. Which in some platforms, it's fun to look at code and be like, hey, this is so complicated. But in AppScript, it's about the workflow and the use case more so than the code.
That's a good point. We see people. I know AppScript pretty much inside and out, but I see people do things that I never even imagined.
Right.
Because they come with a set of problems and a set of creativity and ideas around a solution space.
Right.
I think that's really right.
Yeah.
Right. That's where the interest is.
Awesome. So, do we have anyone on the Hangout at this point? We have a new name there. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Jasper.
No, I don't know Jasper. Jasper, can you hear us, and would you like to ask a question?
Okay.
All right.
Well, if you have any questions, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, we're going to leave the mics open.
That's right.
All right. In the meantime, we do have some questions on our Google moderator. People have been diligently posting. So let's get started with one of those. Right here at the top, are there plans to add GAS capabilities to drawings and presentations? And by GAS, I think they mean Google Apps Unscripted.
Yeah, this is something that we've been looking into. No official plans at this point. The idea of AppScript is to, first of all, really rock the Google Docs, Google Spreadsheets, and the Google Forms experience right now. We're very much focused on that. And certainly spreadsheets and other tools are right in that suite of capabilities, but we're not, at this point, there's no plans that we have announced.
Gotcha. Sounds good.
Actually, let me just throw in. So if you have use cases around, so there's already, I think, a feature enhancement in our issue tracker. Please go find it and include details on what you want to build. What are some of the capabilities that you're looking for? I know with the slides, the most common scenario is I want to auto-create 15 slides from a few bullets. So if that's what it is, please put a vote in. As much details as you can. It really helps us prioritize things.
That is a good point. Our product manager, he really looks at when he's trying to decide what's the next thing we should do, where should we put our energy.
That's right.
If there's a whole bunch of really compelling use cases around drawings or presentations, that definitely helps us as a team kind of.
And really the Google plugin for Eclipse, it came from in that sort of, we looked at a lot of people wanted offline access to their code. A lot of people wanted custom source control integration with their code. And one approach we took was expose the API and then give you the plugin for Eclipse. But we do look at this, and nothing is out of the realm of possibilities with good use cases and good details.
It's true. All right. So the next one here is it's about SAP. SAP is the leader in enterprise workflow management. Do you see Google Apps Script with Google Apps for Business tools becoming a true business platform for ERPs and SMEs? That is just chock full of acronyms.
Yeah. So SMEs, I think, is small to medium enterprises. So, and Google Apps has been very successful in that space, in the small to medium enterprises. I think at $50 a user or $60 a user, whatever the rate is. It's really easy to get started, very powerful. And with AppScript, you have this additional layer of programmability on top of it. However, we're not product people. Our job is to support APIs and capabilities.
And developers.
And developers, exactly. And so we don't really have a comment on whether it's going to replace one product or another product. It's really up to you as to what you can build and what problems you're solving. So unfortunately, we would like to think it's solving every problem in the world, but it's up to the developers and our partners on what they build and what problems they solve.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, we also do focus a lot on the ability to integrate, right?
That's right.
So we want to make sure that if there are popular tools out there, that we have the integration points via URL fetching or other sorts of technologies that you can do to access those outside systems, bring the data in, push data out. We want to make it so that there's not a lot of friction in getting done what you need to get done, but not really commenting on specific technologies. All right, great. The next question we have here is Google Apps Script a good tool for a web app in the marketplace? Can it handle 500 plus users? Fausto here has put a lot of energy into his shared contacts app and would like to make sure it can scale.
I think a lot of times hi Fausto, I'm not sure if you're watching live. I know this is a really cool tool. I've seen the tool in action. So a lot of times when people talk about scalability, it's around not necessarily AppScript specifically as much as the specific systems or backend APIs it's using. So I think in this case, the contact service has its set of limitations and capabilities. So it's really a question of can contact service and the quota that you get with it, will that scale to 500 users? And I think that's a really hard question to answer live without thinking about what are the use cases on. Is it polling every minute, or is it once a day they're checking these shared contacts? I mean, in general, 500 users don't sound like that much, and
right.
I think it's going to be okay as long as you're using things like caching and instead of polling every minute, maybe you aggregate it for all users and do one batch call. So there are techniques with which you can support that, but I don't know if you have any comments on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think this question is probably in response to the next question, which is how he is experiencing, I've been working with him a lot over the issue tracker, some occasional timeout problems with regards to calls to the contacts service, the Google Contacts API. And so, yeah, I think in this case, you found a bottleneck, right? All the other parts of the code perhaps are functioning well and scaling well, and there's this one bottleneck around the Contacts API. There is something strange going on in regards to how it works sometimes when you run it manually, but not on an automated process, and it has something to do, without getting too much into how these kind of requests flow through our backends at different times. So yeah, I mean, you did find a bottleneck, and I think if you were to scale this up to 500,000 users, you'd find other bottlenecks as well. I think part of what we're trying to do on our team is to help identify what those bottlenecks are and see if we can't get them out of your way. But that said, I think there is eventually an upper bound to when it makes sense to no longer be using AppScript for a certain task. Obviously, you wouldn't want to run a brand new social platform on AppScript, right? For millions and millions of users, it's just not the right tool for the job. But I think 500 users sounds like it's I think it fits within what AppScript aims to be, and I think we'll keep working with you on this specific problem and hopefully get it resolved.
It's a very complicated problem to debug, so we're certainly aware of the issues that you're facing, and we are trying to do our best. When you think about AppScript, right? So Google Contacts has had an API for a long time, and what we're trying to do is just wrap that in this really nice JavaScript API and offer that to you. So a lot of times the problem might be in the backend API itself, or in our implementation of the wrapper logic, or somewhere in your code and the way things are sequenced. So there's a lot of different moving parts. In general, web apps, few hundred users, no problem. Specific bottlenecks, we have to kind of dig in and figure out. Similar issues might happen with spreadsheets. So if you're serving the same spreadsheet for hundreds of users, depending on what you're doing with that spreadsheet, there might be some issues. So it's certainly something that we need to dig in and do some debugging on.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I think there's only one more question we have here in the moderator, and it's about Google Maps and not related to AppScript whatsoever. So I think we'll just bypass that one for now. But you can reach out to the Google Maps team for specific questions about their APIs and the products there.
And I think they have a Google Developers Live series as well. So I think it might be developersgoogle.com/live/maps.
That sounds about right.
All right. Yeah.
And maybe this was just a matter of turning to the wrong channel at the wrong time. But hopefully you can get your question answered there. I believe that's it for our moderator. Let's just check back in on the live Hangout. I see we have some people there. Does anybody have a question they'd like to ask live?
Or a comment.
Yeah. Tell us what you've been building with AppScript recently.
All right. Well, there's one other announcement that I want to make. I forgot to mention earlier. Yeah, it's not really that surprising, I guess. So I'm going to actually be doing a Google Developers Group presentation to the group in London this Friday. I think it's part of their DevFest program. So I'll be joining in via Hangout, using our great technology to present remotely. For the folks in the UK, if you're in the area, definitely go. I forget the exact offices where they are in London, but check them out. The GDG London group is running this, so looking forward to presenting to you and giving you some background on AppScript.
It's great. Now, have you presented at other groups in the past?
Yeah, so I presented to the group in Bogota in Colombia remotely, and it's a lot of fun to present remotely, and sometimes I get really good questions even though I feel like I can't see them, and the technology works really well. So and it's a great way for us to not have to travel out everywhere, but also provide any content and demos that we can to get the group to think about AppScript and build some interesting things. Trying to present as many as possible, and also more importantly, find local authorities, local experts that can take on. So my goal after I presented the Google Developers Group in London is to find folks in London that can deliver that same presentation and become a local expert for us.
That's great.
So if you're interested in running DevFest sessions, let us know, and we'll put in touch with you with the local GDG folks that can help you organize, polish your content, and of course we're here to help you with any presentation ideas or any sort of slides as well.
There's a lot of great perks too as you get involved in DevFest, or maybe even if you can graduate into our developer expert program.
That's right.
There's really a lot of capabilities to get involved with Google more. I think there's giving talks, lots of other great benefits.
That's right. So the program is called Google Developers Expert. So developers.google.com/expert, I think, is the URL. And if you go there, you can find out all about this program. So that's sort of the top tier of involvement with Google Developer Technologies. It certainly takes a while to get to that point, but we recommend that if you are really passionate about AppScript, let us know first of all, and let us know about your projects, and let us know about your talks or blog posts on AppScript, and we'll keep monitoring it and nominate you for this process if that makes sense. But the perks are huge. I mean, maybe it starts with just a T-shirt here and there, but it could graduate up to visits up to the Google offices, direct channel to Google engineers through us, and a lot of really interesting things that if you are passionate about a particular Google technology, it's a great way to get recognized and get benefits from it.
Now, I remember at I/O last year just how much power even just a T-shirt had.
That's right. That's right.
T-shirts are very powerful, but it goes so far beyond that. So yeah, definitely, we're looking to recruit more folks into our AppScript world, get them excited, spread the good news to everybody. Because I don't know about you, Arun, but I feel like AppScript has so much power and is still pretty unknown to a majority of developers.
That's right. Yeah, it's oftentimes I give presentations and. Everybody knows about Gmail and Docs and Drive, and there's probably about 10-15% of the room that has heard of AppScript, and even smaller percentage that has actually tried out even our simple 5-minute quick starts. So you can help us spread the message and get more people to at least try it out, see if it's right for them.
That's great. All right, well, I'm going to give one more crack at the people live in the Hangout. This is your last chance to ask a question to 2 Google engineers. All right, going, gone. I think that does it for today's episode, Arun.
All right, thank you very much for anyone that joined live and for the questions that were asked on Moderator. And I think we already scheduled the next one, I forget, but we'll be doing this again in November, and I think we'll be deep into winter by then. So talk to you guys then.
Thank you, goodbye.
See ya.